So we've had this Best All Ireland series of the past 16 years, and we've gone through the round of 16. We're now in the quarter-final stage, and the first quarter-final matchup is Tyrone 2005 against Dublin 2017. So it's like basically, if you can have these two teams playing against each other, who'd win it? Now, Fintan, I'll throw it to you first. This Tyrone team in 2005 had to play something like 10 games, whereas Dublin coasted through pretty much every game in 2017. So I'd argue that the Tyrone team in '05 got up to a higher level than that Dublin team in 2017 ever needed to. Now, maybe there was more in them, but we saw more from Tyrone.
Yeah, I'd say the only time look that Dublin team, and look, it was no fault of their own as the guys who they were playing, was that final. I think was it probably the best of the Dublin Mayo finals. I mean, it was pretty exceptional as a guard standard. I mean, they blew Tyrone away in the semi-final. Everyone was expecting Tyrone to kind of mount a real challenge. The opposition they faced in Leinster just hasn't really been a factor for a good few years now. Whereas that Tyrone team, I mean, you look at the kind of games they played. They had to beat Cavan after a replay. Then a couple of brilliant games at Armagh. That was the time when the Ulster finals were in Croke Park, and like they were absolutely huge occasions, weren't they? I mean,
yeah, 3 games against Armagh at Croker is insane.
Yeah, and the third one for me, I think it was on maybe Air Sport, was it? Maybe maybe about a month ago or something like that. I generally think it's one of the best games I've ever seen. I wasn't at it now, just watched it on TV, but I just remember, like at that stage, there were just so many big names involved on both sides. You had the whole thing about McGeeney coming off, Canavan putting over the free. The fact that they played 2 games. There was a couple of people sent off, wasn't there, in the Ulster final that year? A couple of suspensions as well, I think, might have been coming to the equation. As well as that, they're obviously coming off the replay win over Dublin. You had the Owen Mulligan goal. Like, if you think they were kind of derided in some quarters when they came through in '03, the way they won the semi-final against Kerry and the game against Armagh, I think this was the year where their attacking ability kind of cut loose. I mean, I was looking at it earlier as regards the forward line. Dooher, McGuigan, Mellon in the half forward line, full forward line, Canavan, O'Neill, Mulligan. I mean, that full forward line especially must be one of the greatest of the last few decades. I mean, 4 of them won All-Stars that year, and then McGuigan probably, like, he really should have won one, I think, with his kind of centre forward play.
In some ways,
it would have been. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, in some ways, you're almost criticising this team or knocking this Dublin team because the calibre of opposition was so poor. Like, Tyrone had to play replays 3 times just to get this far. Michael, anything stand out for you particularly about either team here that would give them an edge?
Yeah, a couple of things that you said there. It's the quality of the opposition that they beat in the final. So Tyrone beat Kerry in '05, a Kerry team that was absolutely hell-bent on retribution from '03. Kerry had won the final in '04 and went on to win in '06 and '07. So that's the calibre of team. They basically stopped a 4 in a row, if you know what I mean. Mayo in 17, that Mayo team has obviously never won one. As good as they are, they've never won one. And we're talking about, like, Tyrone obviously did an interesting path to the final with the 10 games. But, like, losing to Armagh after a replay, that Armagh team, like, really, of all the teams that only won All Ireland, that Armagh team should have won more. That was a brilliant Armagh team. Probably because they were coming up against the likes of this Tyrone team, that's why they didn't. They obviously got the retribution later on in the year as well, but that's the quality of opposition that they were playing against. Just a couple of things that I kind of thought was interesting. Fintan mentioned O'Mulligan's goal in '05, which kind of turned the game and in a way turned their season around a bit as well. So, like, they were down a goal at that stage in the All-Ireland quarter-final replay. Mulligan got the goal. They went on and won by what? They won by 7 in that game after. Helped turn the game and turn their season somewhat. And then I kind of contrasted that with, not saying Dublin didn't need anything to turn their season, but there was a lot of confidence in Tyrone going into that All-Ireland semi-final in 18. Conn gets this absolute wonder goal, so down the heart of the Tyrone defence at the start of the game. And all of a sudden, Tyrone's game plan is for nothing. Like, they didn't know what to do. They were chasing the game. Mickey Harte said after, we didn't expect to be behind. And it's just kind of like, I suppose it's 2 moments maybe that not turned the season. The Mulligan goal definitely turned Tyrone's and the game, whereas Conn's goal just showed this is just a different animal of a Dublin side. So I just kind of thought that was interesting. But for the quality of opposition beaten in finals, Tyrone would definitely edge it for me. And as Fintan says there, like, that full forward line is like as good as any full forward line. That's a dream full forward line that you pick picking from 32 counties, not just picking from one county. And the iconic moment, as Fintan says, of, Mulligan handing Canavan the ball to hit that free against Armagh in the semi-final. Sure, that's up there. It's up there with one of the great moments. Tyrone 05 would be edging it for me. And perhaps, as you say, Dublin are victims of their own success and maybe of their own greatness as well, that they're not been challenged the whole way through. Look at the Tyrone run. Like, Cavan drew with them, Armagh drew with them, and then they lost to them. They drew at Dublin. They had really tight games. They beat Armagh a point, beat Kerry a goal. Dublin in 17, beat Carlow 12, hammered Westmeath. Beat Kildare by 9 in the end, hammered Monaghan, hammered Tyrone, and then a really tight final with Mayo. So it's not their fault, but I just think Tyrone would be edging it for me.
There's got to be a couple of great matchups here. I'm looking at that half back line in midfield and even half forward line as well for Dublin. Like Johnny Cooper, John Small, Jack McCaffrey, Brian Fenton, James McCarthy, Kieran Kilkenny, Conor Callaghan, and Owen O'Gara is named in the wing forward there, but he didn't necessarily play there. Fintan, is there any particular matchups that stand out to you?
Yeah, I think it's just how that defence would have kind of handled the Tyrone forward line. The Dublin backs kind of stands out, because it's interesting actually just looking at who started in the attack for Dublin that day. What jumped out for me was the 6 subs that they brought on were Paul Flynn, Diarmuid Connolly, Bernard Brogan, Cormac Costello, Kevin McMenamin and Niles Scully. So we've gone about the attacking talent Tyrone had. I mean, the options that Dublin were able to bring on were absolutely crazy that day. I suppose if we're going to say that it's going to be a traditional forward line, are you thinking Dooher on McCaffrey, Cian O'Sullivan playing a traditional centre back on McGuigan, and then John Small, Ryan Mellon, then inside then like Cooper, McMahon, Fitzsimons? Like, it's been a thing said about Dublin a lot that the full back line is the way you can get at them. But I mean, all 3 of those are absolutely class defenders. All 3 have got, they're all stars. And I think while McMahon probably came first and established himself, I think over the last couple of years people have seen how good Cooper and Fitzsimons are. So the 3 of them going up against the Canavan, O'Neill, Mulligan, and we'll play it on the 2005 terms where Tyrone leads the 3 of them inside. It's man on man, and there isn't this situation where they're bringing guys back. I think that'd be fairly brilliant individual battles to watch.
Stephen O'Neill was Footballer of the Year in 2005. A Dublin player didn't get Footballer of the Year in 2017. That was Andy Moran. Is there anything to be read into that, Michael?
There probably is a bit to be read on it, because a couple of the reasons that he got Footballer of the Year were his performances in the final on various Dublin defenders. So there is something on that. Like, I do think it does take away from don't get me wrong, to the lads involved, it doesn't take away at all. But to us kind of looking back on it, it does it take away from Dublin's dominance a small bit that like one player didn't shine above, the team they beat in the final to be crowned Footballer of the Year? I think it does. I think it does a small bit. Shane, I have to read out a comment here. It's actually not related to the debate, but it's absolutely brilliant. John S. Lads, I am late to the show, so might have been discussed. But what's the crack with Michael's moustache? Is he going for an audition for a movie about Billy Byrne? Oh Lord, jeez, Billy Byrne and his porn star moustache. Jesus, the first day, once this video finishes, I'll be going for a shave.
There's probably a video to be done of the greatest porn moustaches in GAA history. Now,
there could be, yeah. Billy Burns would definitely be up there. Jerry McInerney as well, like the Tom Sellecks of the GA world almost.
Yeah, I think Cian O'Sullivan was rocking one for Dublin there for a while.
That's right. That was awful, but he's a handsome man and he was able to pull it off.
Fintan?
I presume all the viewers are going to hope games come back at some stage. If this is the content, we end up going there. If we're exhausting all sorts of GA topics and we're at this in about 6 weeks' time.
Yeah, don't sniff at it. Okay, so let's choose here. Fintan, who are you going for?
I'm going with Tyrone. I'm going to stick with what I said originally. Again, I would agree with the point you're making, but it's not Dublin's fault. But that 2005, I think even a lot of people remember that it was 10 games they had to play through in All-Ireland. I think it's the strongest of their 3 All-Ireland wins, and it's a kind of an epic campaign, epic journey during the summer. So I'd be going for them.
Yeah, I'd agree with Fintan, definitely. And it's the passage, as I read out the passage to the final, like, did so much hardship on the way to the final, and they were still able to deliver, a brilliant performance. And that was a brilliant final. I think it's a really underrated final in 05. I think Tomas O'Shea came up and got a goal to keep it really alive near the end. But as Fintan says, like that forward line, like we mentioned the full forward line, but even the half forward line and the matchups, like Dooher on McCaffrey, that really makes me think, Jesus, they could give them an awful lot of trouble, and they'd just be giving the edge to Tyrone, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put it out for a public vote, but just my own 2 cents, I'd just about give it to Dublin. I think because they were wiping so many teams with the floor during the 5 in a row, that they're probably, they weren't tested enough to see their greatness. But even in this final, Jack McCaffrey goes off early because he has a cruise ship. They have to dip into the bench so much. Different players at different times had to come out. I just about give it to them because I just think they were right at the peak of their powers. Everyone talks about 18, especially 19, that some of these great players were just about hanging on. So I think that Dublin team might just about edge that brilliant Tyrone team. But we'll throw it out to the vote.